So, welcome to a Fascination of Trees little shop, workstation, and this is Debbie, who is working our little hand crank sewing machine, making a leaf. She's doing this for fun. So I'll take you into the exhibition. There's Bert, who, despite the fact that we're not open, has had several hugs today. This is the community leaf with a blank one for adding more leaves to. So these have all been made by these people here, and possibly others who didn't give me their names. So do some close-ups of Bert. This is the only purple spiralaticus in the world. Bert is the only one who's got a purple spiralaticus. And that's his face. Sergeant Major Mushroom. And Doug, that's Bert's squirrel. The snail doesn't have a name. Then if you come round here, you've got the arbour with the sun shining down, which is very nice to sit on. Also doesn't fit quite in the frame. I'll give you a close-up of the cushions. So these were screen printed in a workshop by me, in a workshop with Alison Hume. So it's really good fun. And then we've got metal bark. This was done with Alison Midgelow Marsden. So again, another workshop piece, and you get right in close there. You can see some of the, it's all done machine stitch and then some hand stitch over the top. So machining into metal is quite good fun. Alcohol inks to colour things in. Then we've got birch bark with beetle. These were done, both of these were done with Sarah Day, doing a workshop with her. Lugashall Castle, with a little leaf on the side. And then this is my weekly tree. You can see, every week I take a photo. You see the ash tree's not looking very well there, of the same trees. And then all of a sudden I came along and it had come apart in a storm and had to be trimmed. So that was quite a shock. If you've got the book, you'll read the story, but now it's doing really well. And my biscorni, or biscornu rather. You see, that's quite good actually, because you can see the back of it as well. And a little bit of yew bark, actual yew bark with a flower on it. Then we turn round and we've got the buttons here. So Dorset buttons. This particular one was made with Maggie Forbes. We were doing grandmother's fans. More buttons, great big buttons. And there's my Dorset button tree of trees. And going close up, we've got owls, butterflies, foxes, wrens, all sorts of leaves and trees to make a giant tree. More buttons. These ones are obviously quite big. And then some little tiny ones, well I say little tiny ones, they're about 10 centimetres. And my big hula hoop. So I come back here and do that. You can see the difference in sizes. And we've got, this piece is called Inspired by Lichens, and it's a freeform piece that started with my dad's old paint rag. This is all hand stitched on to my dad's old paint rag. The background, this was my first foray into acrylic paint. I did a massive acrylic paint. It's a mix of buttons, and then I had this birch bark and the yew bark in, and the birch bark was looking a bit stark on its own, and my dad sent me these through the post. So that worked really nicely. And then some macrame trees, different types of macrame tree, and macrame leaves, just done with some gardening string. This is my tree couture. So the jacket goes over the top of the dungarees. And I've got little tiny acorn buttons. So normally it would be like that. I just want to show off the acorn buttons. Then we've got there we go. I like the way they're sort of slightly flashing in the video. This is my tree of light. This is felted with LED lights wrapped around, and that's, I can never pronounce it, but it's the dragon that sits at the bottom of Yggdrasil, which is the Norse tree of life. And then we've got this piece, which is quite big. I'll see if I can go back a little bit. There we go. This is my forest floor, and this is using all sorts of scraps and things. So if I can see, we've got buttons, fleece in there, beads, little bits of seeds and twigs. Tuck that back in there. Keeps trying to escape. Bits of army hardware, keys, right old mixture. It's a real Where's Wally piece of work. So you can just keep looking, seeing different things. A real mixed media piece. And then over here, we've got a piece called Hidden. And if you look closely, you'll see all these little bits of stitching are actually these little tiny bits here. They're all notes, because that's the birds. And then that's Wood Wide Web. So you see the lights flickering along, that's all the messages being sent between the trees and the mushrooms. Little tins to do it with. Tangled. This is one of my freeform stitch pieces. Got a lot of felting stuff in there as well. And this piece is just called Earth Tree, and it's a freeform piece. Right old mixture of stuff in there, formed organically. This piece, a little dark unfortunately, but if I take the glass off, the piece falls out. So this is my Scottish moor piece. And then we've got little hoops, various woven embroidery hoops. And a woven tree. And then all of these are all my fluff club last year. So I dyed the fibre to match the picture, or inspired by the picture. And then I spun the yarn up, and then I've woven it again using the picture for inspiration. And then some of my paintings, so it's this going to reflect off the glass, I'm afraid, but both of these pieces were done using chalk from Windmill Hill near Avebury, actual chalk. And then some more of my paintings, drawings. This is Sapling Dreaming. So you see the little sapling there. That was inspired by little tiny tree that somebody bought me for Christmas. It was in Wales, and he's dreaming of becoming that big tree. And we've got some embroidery hoops and a little felted piece called Trio of Trees. And I walk in the woods. This is a lot of scrap in here. Things like vegetable nets, bits of old Estonian cushion fabric, old bits of wool, and all of that kind of stuff. And that's Sentinel. That was inspired by a tree that we saw in Scotland. And that's English paper piecing with a little bit of stitch on it. And last but not least, these two. This is my timeline to treelessness. So you start at the top and work your way down, and each time more buildings are passed. Are built rather. There you go. So you start with all trees, then the Neolithic, then the Iron Age, then the Roman, then the Saxon, medieval field system, Elizabethan knot garden, capability brown landscapes, turn of the 20th century, and what we've got now with one tiny little tree. And that is my Fascination of Trees. Just one last thing I'll take you round to. Oh, that's one of my paintings. And then just finishing off with all my bits and pieces, some of my experimental work that I've done. There you go. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks. Bye.